Hey y'all, I'm going to share the Steve Reich electric counterpoint that you saw me recording last week in the process video. So this was just a fun project I wanted to put together because playing music like Steve Reich feels a lot to me like putting together a puzzle, because the pieces fit together in this really cool way, and playing each part as you go, and you like feel the puzzle coming together and feel the big picture showing up more and more as you add each piece. And I love puzzles, like all kinds of puzzles, so this appeals to that part of me, recording this kind of music. But I listen to a lot of this music, minimalist music, Steve Reich in particular, and I listen to West African drum music as well. And it's because I really love the kind of trance-ish quality that the music has, although I don't really listen to trance music, in the way that we mean that term when we say trance, that genre. But the quality that this music has, like the ability it has to help me sort of get in a zone. So I listen to it a lot when I work or when I walk. Anytime I need just to kind of get into a thought pattern and stay there for a while, or meditate in a way. So I really love the way that this kind of music weaves these little threads of sound together to make this tapestry that you wouldn't otherwise see. I mean, the patterns often are repeating a lot, and if you heard them just by themselves, they might seem rather, unimpressive or not very interesting. But as soon as you start to put more of them together, it creates this really cool picture. And there will be this thing that happens where, you have 4 or 5 parts playing, and then it'll sound like there's a 6th part that's not actually there. And what's happening is that the way the parts are woven together create this like emphasis on certain notes that are happening in the different parts, but makes it feel like it's its own line. And I like the metaphor that's in there about, human beings doing things that seem unimpressive, unremarkable, at the same time can create something really beautiful, and can create something that can only show up when those people are doing their thing, So that's one of the reasons I really like this kind of music. I wanted to record it and share it with you all and just have fun doing it for myself. So some parameters I gave myself were that I wanted to play the actual notes one at a time and not loop the tracks on Logic, even though you could. I mean, many of the patterns show up for many measures at a time, and you could record it and then just loop it, but I didn't want to. I wanted to play the notes because that's how Reich wrote it. Although the sheet music I could get access to more easily was a YouTube video, so you'll see that I could only record like 4 or 5 measures at a time, and then I'd have to like stop and scoot the screen over, scrub over on YouTube. And I quantized every once in a while when something was just too messy and I was like, ugh, I don't want to record that again. I'm just going to quantize. So I did do that. But I didn't want to quantize the whole thing and make it super duper clean, because it took away this quality, that is only there when there's a little bit of imperfection. And in particular, the synth sound that I chose has a tiny little percussive sound at the beginning that if you just hear one line of that synth, it doesn't stick out. But as soon as you start to layer a bunch of different melodies with that same synth, this little percussive sound gets more amplified and it sticks out in a really cool way, particularly when it's a little imperfect and as far as when the notes start. So, and I also put some drums in, even though there are no drums in the song. And that's because Reich, taking inspiration from West African drumming, does this thing in the music where, the exact same pattern keeps happening over and over again. It changes a bit when there's a key change. He eventually starts oscillating between these 2 chords, 2 keys. But he, in in African drumming, West African drumming, there's this cool phenomenon where the beat can be in a bunch of different places, and you can group the notes in a bunch of different ways. Like they don't teach the music with time signatures necessarily in the way that we do. It's just you play your pattern, and kind of how different people feel the beat is how they get to feel the beat in some of the musics that they do. So he, on the sheet music, changes the time signature. And so what that means is these 12 notes that happen in each measure, for the first half of the song, he groups them into 3 groups of 4 notes. But then about halfway through, he starts changing it to 4 groups of 3 notes. But the pattern stays the same. So to the audience, it's not obvious that this change has happened. It feels almost like an inside joke to the musicians, because it's just not how we think about the beat in most of the music we hear in the States. So that change, is challenging because you're playing the same pattern, but he visually changes how the notes are grouped. So where the musician wants to put the beat changes. And so this pattern you've been playing and you're like in the groove and doing it over and over again, it feels really good. Suddenly it's like, like changes gears on you. And it's like, whoa. So that was a fun challenge and fun way to feel the exact same pattern, just in a different way. So I put drums in so that the audience could get a little bit more of that sensation of the beat changing from 3 beats a measure to 4 beats a measure. So that's there, just, whatever, for it to be fun, for you to hear that, because I think it's a cool part of what he does. And there are some moments where he has some musicians feeling it in 3 beats and some musicians feeling it in 4 beats as far as how he wrote it with the time signature, but I couldn't make that happen. So it's just one or the other in the drums. I think that's it. So I hope you enjoy Reich's electric counterpoint, the fast movement.